So this is a milling machine. Wait, no, damn it, Google. This is a milling machine, and this is where the story begins. So I'd been searching and praying like crazy for a milling machine when this one came along. Price was high as it usually is, but I figured it came with everything I needed to get started. It was single phase, had a vise, tooling, and even cutters. Perfect, right? Well, it wouldn't have been much of a miracle if not for the fact that on the day I finally managed to get a trailer and my buddy Doug with his 4x4 to help me go get it, that I found an ad that would change everything. It was for a full-size Bridgeport copy. It had power feed. And although it was covered in what at first looked like sand, it was cheaper than the little mill. Foreshadowing. Time for some more praying though, because we weren't first in line, but we arranged to go out anyway. If we missed the big mill, we'd at least go get the small one. Well, when we got there, the mill was still there, and so were the other two ads. There was a cabinet full of tools and a Colchester-sized lathe. We were able to strike a deal for both machines and all the metalworking tools, and boy, was it a deal, as you can see from these pictures. I do have to say though that it's a blessing to have friends willing to help you move a 1-ton beast like this, especially when you have forklifts breaking down on you, you have height clearance, you have old cars you have to move out of the way. It was an ordeal. But the mill was finally home. Well, at least through the door. I spent a little time cleaning out all of the junk and sawdust, but then it was time to move her, inch by inch, with nothing more than a couple crowbars and some pipe. It's best to take these things slowly to make sure that you end the task with as many fingers as you started. You rarely get to realizing that most anything is possible if you have the luxury of taking your time and thinking through your problems. But yeah, life is always better with friends, and better yet, family. And together we managed to move the lathe around and get this thing into position. Okay, so this is an exciting day, and Stacey's with me because she's helping sand her little chair in the garage over here. This is her project chair that she's working on. So she's here joining me today. It is freezing outside. Now, today is an exciting day because the VSD finally arrived here from China. It's a little Minleaf AT1 200X or so. They're quite popular. The AT200X or whatever is sold by many different companies or the same company under many different brands. Anyway, so after we got the mill into its final resting place, I decided on a comment from my dad that I would wire up the garage, and Stace also helped me wire up the plugs and the lights in here. Now, that has spurred me on to really want to go and do like crazy remote panels for this VSD, and like a box mounted to the wall, and just, you know, the coolant pump switches, reverse switches, like a proper control panel with like these little switches and pots and all of that. But honestly, before I get ahead of myself, I'm gonna go hook this thing up to the mill and check that it works. Let's give this a test. All right, we're gonna run her. And this will be now officially the second time that I've had her run in the workshop, but man, I am excited. She's alive! Finally alive! And so yeah, this is it. This is with the VSD finally installed, hooked up, and all programmed to this handy little pendant over here. And so, as we can see, we have the unit turning on. Gonna turn the pot on over here. And she comes to life. Best thing is you can see her through the cover. So it's forward and reverse. Vary the speed. Okay, so as you can see, we have speed control up here, on and off down here, and forward and reverse down here. And then eventually I plan to put in a jog forward and jog reverse there, just so I can do easy power tapping. And as you can see here, my lovely alternative work holding devices right now. I've only got exactly 2 T-nuts that work and a half-baked set of hold-down clamps. But yeah. Alright guys, so that's the milling machine. It's a bit of a long video, but stick around if you want to see some of the tools that came with this machine. And really that was the best part. The price of this machine and the tooling it came with. This was a really great score. So over here, this whole cabinet, this entire blue cabinet that you saw my wife and I move, this came in with the deal. I guess first box up is going to be the set of collets. Now, I've got a set, what seems to be quite a good set of R8 collets. This is what I'm excited about. This is a Clarkson Auto Lock chuck. If you've ever seen those end mills that have the threads on the back of them, these are for the Clarkson Auto Lock chucks. I'm not going to go into how they work right now, but yeah, they're self-tightening collets, and they've got their own little proprietary system over here, and that's cool. I have one collet that should work and 3 other smaller sizes that hopefully work. They only come in sets of 4 apparently. Morse taper to R8 adapter, that is cool. Some sort of R8 arbor for face mills. And the only 10 mil collet I have is a little bit banged up. That's a bit of a shame. Alright, next box is also kind of cool. We've got a tapping head. I still need to figure out exactly how these things work. If you guys know in the comments, enlighten me, I'll look into it, but I haven't had a chance yet. This actually came with lathe. This is like a Morse taper 5, I think, chuck. It's frozen on because I don't have a key that big to open it yet. This is interesting. This seems like an all-in-one step profile cutter. Meant to take like carbide inserts. I don't know if I'd ever use that. It's a pity the carbides can't be salvaged. Some Jacobs copy chucks. I don't think these are original Jacobs. Homemade fly cutter with a hopelessly too small R8 arbor. Tiny fly cutter that someone's made, which is cool. This is for like drilling massive holes, and that little spring-loaded pin pushes the core out. It's like a ISO 30 or a BT 30 fly cutter. Okay, so this is the next box. This is a keyless chuck, sort of a bigger range. It looks like 3 to 16. Not written on here. Color's just off a bit. Thankfully already with its little R8 arbor. Some big, looks like Morse taper 5 to Morse taper 4 adapters. Those actually will come in handy for something else that's come with this box, which is pretty cool. Yeah, some of these are really beat on. Don't really want to use those. And then I think these are Morse taper adapters for like a boring jig. I stand to be corrected. I would assume that's what they're for, like a giant boring jig. Alright, next up is the obligatory job lot of a whole bunch of random stuff. Some of these taps came with the lathe, and then some of these bigger dies came with the mill, but some of them are English size, like British Standard Pipe, BSP, BSW, BSFs. A lot of these not particularly handy to me here because they're imperial and we're metric. But you know, some of these do come in handy. They're like once in a lifetime threads, which is handy. There's quite a few duplicates. Whoever had this machine beforehand, obviously 2 owners ago, obviously did quite a bit of production work and quite a few batches, because he had quite a few of the same drill bits, quite a few of the same cutters and taps and dies. These are cool. Morse taper drill bits. Some horizontal cutters. I think one of them is actually a module 3 gear cutter, which will be handy for a very specific range. This is cool. It's a carbide end mill for high-speed wood cutting. And boy, do these throw up sawdust and get it everywhere. A whole job lot full of drills. This box right here would explain some of the massive, massive chunks taken out of the milling table. I mean, look at the size of that drill bit. Hardly used, and I'm not actually surprised. That's why I said those could have been from like a drill boring jig. And this is just beat up, but you know, it could become like a reduced shank drill bit that you could regrind and resharpen. Yeah, now we're on to the knickknacks. Some odds and ends. This was pretty much this guy's entire metal division between myself and my buddy Doug. So this is what I'm showing you guys is half of what there was, and some of it was really weird. So you got these giant face mills. I need to try and find exactly which inserts these take, because this will be cool to use. A little bit on the big side, but nonetheless cool to use. Even bigger face mill. This looks like it takes high or brazed carbide sort of replacement inserts, if you can call that. That's going to be a bit hard to find, but also this looks like a homemade arbor anyway. The previous owner, just for the guy I bought this from, had a lot of these drill press vices he was trying to use as milling vices, and every single one is either cracked and repaired or completely cracked. This, you can't see that, but that's loose. That's odds and ends. And then finally, this hunking piece of awesomeness. This is a massively oversized, made in Czechoslovakia dividing head. That is far too heavy. I think even for this, I think this would need to go on like a giant Cincinnati. Man, it is heavy and it is big and is massive. For comparison's sake, there's a tiny little can of WD-40 next to this thing. It's actually a little bit too large for even my mill. It needs to be on a giant Cincinnati knee mill or a horizontal mill or something. It is just brutally massive. And then my other favorite thing that came with this purchase was I'm not going to say full, but a set of ER32 collets, which look to be import. Yeah, so these are the other Clarkson Auto-Lock collets. I've got 3 of them of a different type. I've got some weird ER/Morse taper collets. They don't really have provision for a drawbar. They look like they should have a closing nut, but that fits into Morse taper 2 taper. So I don't actually know if they're meant to be used on their own. Surely not. If someone knows, please enlighten me. Most of the R collets, some of the useful size, like the 12 mil, is snapped in half. And then this was shoehorned into the R8 taper on the mill. This is once again like an ISO 30 or BT30 taper, and they had literally just cranked the life out of this to fit into the R8 arbor in the mill. The arbor, or the taper, the R8 taper in the mill was still okay, luckily, because they were doing woodwork. But yeah, so I at least have an ER collet nut that rotates. This I can't do it with one hand and a glove, but yeah, this is a rotating nut. Bit chipped up, but yeah, this is a collet set. I have no idea how good they are. I think they are import. Hopefully they'll see me in good stead. Well, that's it, guys, along with some stock at the bottom of the cupboard over there and some other odds and ends. This is all the tooling that has come with the mill. And yeah, this is the final mill reveal. I am very happy to now finally have a fully capable shop. And I don't have all the tools yet. I've got a lot of goodies, which I don't deserve yet, but I will earn them. I promise you guys that I will earn these tools and see them put to their proper use. That's it, guys. I've been Mark Howe from Project Car with the new member of the family. Out.